The Kappa family, comprising of Guy and Priska, along with their 2 children, embark on a luxurious vacation at a high-end resort. Once they settle in, Trent strikes up a friendship with a young boy named Idlib. They engage in activities such as asking fellow resort guests about their names and occupations, and Idlib teaches Trent how to decode secret messages. In the meantime, Guy and Priska discuss that this is their final family trip before they divorce, which is further complicated by Priska's illness with a stomach tumor. During breakfast, Charles, a doctor in his middle age, sits with his wife Crystal, who is younger and vain, his daughter Kara, and his mother Agnes. While they are eating, a woman named Patricia has an epileptic seizure nearby, and Charles rushes to help her while her husband Jaron also tries to assist. The resort manager approached the Kappa family and offered them a private resort nearby. Trent notices Idlib and they plan to spend time together later that day, but the resort manager asks Idlib to leave the area. Kappas, along with Charles and his family, ride in a van that transports them to a secluded beach. Upon arrival, Maddox recognizes a rapper named Midsize Sedan, whose real name is Brendan Smith, and who was previously seen with a female companion who went skinny dipping. While the adults relax on the sand, the children play together and stumble upon some old dolls buried in the sand, left behind by other kids. Meanwhile, Trent discovers the body of Brendan's companion while swimming near a cave, and the adults investigate the scene. Brendan suffers from nosebleeds and is shocked by the discovery, insisting that the woman only went for a swim and did not return. Charles suspects foul play, but the cause of the woman's death remains uncertain. Shortly thereafter, Agnes begins to experience shortness of breath and ultimately passes away. Jaron and Patricia make it to the beach, only to find that the individuals who brought them there have departed. Additionally, the children begin to encounter unusual occurrences. Jaron and Patricia converse with Trent and Maddox, who have suddenly matured into pre-adolescence. Kara has also undergone the same transformation. Numerous efforts are made to depart the beach by passing through the rocky barrier that encloses it, but every adult who tries experiences a throbbing sensation in their head, followed by unconsciousness and awakening back on the beach. Bizarre phenomena are also observed, such as kids suddenly grow up 6 years in just few minutes, that their parents immediately would not recognize them. Charles assaulting Brendan with a knife and the wound healing within moments. Later on, Brendan discovers that the corpse of the woman he was with has decayed entirely into bones, within only 3 hours, indicating the presence of some kind of time-related anomaly on the beach. Suddenly, Priska's tumor causes her discomfort and agony. The grown-ups attempt to assist her, initially by feeling around for the tumor, which they describe as being about the size of a golf ball. Following the operation, the incision on Priska's stomach heals quickly. As Trent and Kara progress into their teenage, young adult years, an astonishing occurrence takes place. In a matter of minutes, Kara becomes pregnant with Trent's child, despite having just engaged in sexual activity with him. The adults brace themselves for the impending birth, which transpires with surprising swiftness. Unfortunately, the baby passes away shortly after birth due to neglect. While the other adults begin to display more apparent indications of aging, Crystal has a particularly difficult time coping with the process. As Charles begins to succumb to schizophrenia, he ends up fatally stabbing Brendan. In response, the rest of the group confiscates his weapon and works on devising an alternative escape plan. Realizing that navigating through the rocks is not an option, Jaron decides to try swimming to explore other potential escape routes. Meanwhile, Trent and Maddox stumble upon a notebook left behind by a previous visitor, which lists names and corresponding medical conditions. Additionally, they spot some figures in the distance who seem to be watching them. During their conversation, Maddox discusses with Priska the possibility of her and Guy separating. Priska confesses to seeing another man, but Maddox becomes angry despite Priska's attempts to explain herself. Maddox goes to the beach to gather herself, but discovers Jaron's lifeless body, who appears to have drowned. This sight triggers a fatal seizure in Patricia. In an attempt to escape, Kara begins to climb up the rocks but ultimately loses consciousness and falls to her death, leaving Trent heartbroken. It is currently nighttime and the situation has become chaotic. Charles is showing signs of losing his sanity, while Crystal is distressed about her aging and physical deterioration, including a hump on her back. Guy is losing his eyesight and Priska's hair has turned gray. They discuss the presence of another man in Priska's life, with Guy confessing that he knew about him but regrets not doing more to save their marriage. Charles then turns violent towards Guy and Priska, while Crystal attacks Trent and Maddox when they try to approach her. Crystal follows them into a cave, where her body becomes distorted before she dies. Priska then uses a rusty knife to injure Charles, causing an infection that quickly spreads and kills him. The Kappas gather around the campfire and the beach where Guy, now elderly and struggling with speech and memory, expresses his love for Priska before passing away. Shortly after, Priska stands up but collapses and dies beside Guy while their children mourn the loss of their parents. Trent and Maddox, who are now in their 50s, bring up a code given to Trent by Idlib. Trent deciphers the code, revealing the message, "My uncle doesn't like the coral." Upon spotting a nearby coral reef, the siblings realize it could be their means of escape. They swim towards the reef, but Maddox's clothes get entangled in the coral. When they fail to resurface, Theo, the van driver who brought them to the beach, reports from his observation post on a cliff overlooking the beach that all members of Trial 73 have died. After Theo returns to the resort and arrives at the lab area, it becomes evident that the resort is a guise for a medical research group called Warren & Warren. This group entices individuals with medical ailments to the beach, with the promise of administering life-saving medications in the cocktails they are served upon arrival. The beach, potentially fueled by the mystical coral, seems to accelerate the aging process, prompting the researchers to conduct trials that last only one day for optimal outcomes. The researchers claim that Patricia's epilepsy was cured, since she went 8 hours without experiencing a seizure, which they equate to 16 years of seizure-free time on the beach. The latest victims are targeted by the resort manager and his accomplices, but their efforts are thwarted by Trent and Maddox, who break free from the coral. Trent reconnects with a man he knew as a child, who happens to be a police officer, and gives him a journal found on the beach, containing a list of missing people and their medical information. Idlib appears and recognizes Trent from his childhood. Trent and Maddox expose the truth to everyone, causing the resort staff to realize their predicament. In the concluding scene, the officers detain all the employees of the resort. Trent and Maddox are escorted by a helicopter to their aunt's location, who is unprepared to acknowledge that her niece and nephew are now fully grown individuals. Please subscribe and turn on notification bell so you can watch more videos like this. Thanks for watching.